Commander Minseo Park stood in the observation deck of Mars Colony Station, watching Earth through the reinforced glass. The blue planet hung in the darkness like a jewel. She had been stationed on Mars for 2 years now, managing the colony's defense systems. It was supposed to be a quiet assignment. Nothing ever happened on Mars. Her communication panel beeped. Minseo turned and saw her assistant's face on the screen. His expression made her blood run cold. "Commander, we're receiving emergency broadcasts from Earth. All 3 major cities are under attack." Minseo rushed to the command center, the room filled with officers staring at their screens in horror. On the main display, she saw Seoul burning. The city where she grew up, the city where her parents still lived. Massive beams of energy fell from the sky like rain. Buildings that had stood for centuries turned to ash in seconds. "Who is attacking?" Minseo demanded. "The Valorian Empire, Commander. Their fleet appeared in orbit 30 minutes ago. They're bombarding Seoul, Mumbai, and Sao Paulo simultaneously." Minseo grabbed the edge of the console to steady herself. The Valorians were one of the oldest empires in the galaxy. They controlled over 600 worlds. Humans had only met them 5 years ago, during first contact. The relationship had been tense but peaceful. Earth operated mining facilities on 3 moons in neutral space. The Valorians wanted those facilities. Earth had refused to give them up. But this response was insane. Genocide because of 3 mining stations. "Get me a channel to Earth Command," Minseo ordered. "We've been trying, Commander. There's no response. All government frequencies are silent." On the screen, Mumbai disappeared under a cloud of fire. Minseo watched the death counter climb. 1 billion, 2 billion. The numbers moved too fast to read. She wanted to look away but forced herself to watch. These were her people dying. If she looked away, she dishonored their deaths. "Commander, we're receiving a broadcast from the Valorian fleet. It's on all frequencies." A face appeared on the screen. The alien looked almost human, with pale blue skin and silver eyes that showed no emotion. He wore the uniform of a Valorian admiral. His name badge read, Admiral Kyle. "Attention, human colonies," Kyle said in perfect English. "Earth has refused to comply with Imperial demands. This is the consequence of defiance. Your 3 largest cities have been eliminated as a demonstration of Imperial power. You have 24 hours to surrender all mining operations and submit to Imperial authority. If you refuse, we will continue orbital bombardment until your species learns obedience. Compliance or extinction. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. The command center fell silent. Minseo looked at the screen showing Earth. Smoke covered a third of the planet now. Sao Paulo had just joined Seoul and Mumbai in the fire. "How many dead?" Minseo asked quietly. The intelligence officer checked his console. His hands shook. "Current estimates, 7.2 billion casualties, Commander. The bombardment targeted the most densely populated areas. They maximized deaths with minimum effort." 7 billion. The number was too large to understand. Minseo had trouble processing hundreds of deaths during military exercises. 7 billion was beyond human comprehension. That was more than half of Earth's population, gone in less than an hour. "What are our orders?" someone asked. Minseo realized everyone was looking at her. She was the highest-ranking officer in the solar system now. Earth Command was silent. The government was probably dead. The military chain of command had been destroyed in the first strike. "We need to contact the other colonies," Minseo said. "Find out who survived, gather any military forces we have left, and someone get me a secure channel. If Earth Command is gone, there must be backup systems. Someone down there must still be alive." The crew worked in shocked silence. Minseo watched Earth burn and felt something cold settle in her chest. Not grief yet. That would come later. Right now, she felt only a strange clarity. The Valorians had made a mistake. They thought fear would make humans submit. They didn't understand that humans were most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. Hours passed. Reports came in from other colonies. Luna Base had survived. Titan Station was intact. Europa mining facility reported ready for orders. None of them had military ships, but they had people. Angry people who had just watched their home world die. At midnight, Mars time, Minseo's console lit up with an incoming transmission. The encryption was military-grade, using codes she'd never seen before. The message was short, just 5 words that repeated over and over. Protocol Retribution active. Stand by. Minseo stared at the message. She had never heard of Protocol Retribution. It wasn't in any manual she'd studied. She tried to trace the signal and found it came from deep inside Earth's automated defense network. Something was still functioning down there, something the Valorians hadn't destroyed. She sent a response. This is Commander Park, Mars Colony. Request information on Protocol Retribution. The answer came immediately. Clearance confirmed. Protocol Retribution is humanity's contingency plan for species-level extinction threats. Assets are being activated across the solar system. Hidden facilities coming online. You are now part of the command structure. Await further instructions. Do not reveal this information to the Valorian Empire. Minseo read the message 3 times. Hidden facilities? Secret assets? Earth had been preparing for this? But how? When? Another message appeared. This one included coordinates scattered throughout the asteroid belt, locations she'd never seen on any official map. The message ended with a simple instruction. Go to coordinates Gamma 7. Tell no one. Bring only officers you trust completely. What you find there will give humanity a chance to answer what the Valorians did to Earth. Retribution is not revenge. Retribution is justice, and justice is coming. Minseo looked out at Earth one last time. The fires were dying down now. Not because the attack had stopped, but because there was nothing left to burn. 7 billion people had become ash and memory. The Valorians thought they had broken humanity with fear. They were wrong. They had done something far more dangerous. They had given humanity a purpose. They had given humanity a reason to unleash everything they'd kept hidden. They had turned grief into fuel for something the galaxy had never seen before. Minseo made her decision. She turned to her most trusted officers. Prepare a shuttle. We're going on a quiet trip. Don't file a flight plan. And bring weapons. I have a feeling we're about to learn that Earth kept more secrets than any of us knew. Outside, Earth continued to smolder. Inside Mars Colony, the first sparks of Operation Retribution began to glow. The shuttle traveled through the asteroid belt for 6 hours before reaching coordinates Gamma 7. Minseo sat in the pilot seat with 3 officers she trusted. Lieutenant Ji-Woo Kim handled navigation. Security Chief Dong-Hyun Lee monitored for Valorian ships. Medical Officer Haewon Choi stayed quiet in the back, still processing what had happened to Earth. Commander, I'm picking up a signal, Ji-Woo said. It's coming from inside that asteroid, the big one ahead. Minseo looked at the rock floating in space. It appeared normal, just another piece of stone among millions. But as they got closer, she saw markings on the surface. Artificial markings. Someone had carved patterns into the asteroid. Take us in, Minseo ordered. The shuttle approached, and a section of the asteroid opened like a giant door. Inside was a tunnel large enough for a warship. Lights activated along the walls, guiding them deeper. The tunnel went down for several kilometers before opening into a massive hollow space carved into the asteroid's center. What Minseo saw made her forget to breathe. Ships. Dozens of warships floated in perfect formation inside the asteroid. These weren't the small patrol craft Earth used for colony protection. These were military vessels designed for war. Sleek, black, and covered in weapons that Minseo had never seen before. Each ship was at least 3 times larger than anything in Earth's official fleet. "What is this?" Dong-Hyun whispered. A voice came over their communication system. Welcome to Shadow Base Gamma 7, Commander Park. Please dock at Bay 3. Someone is waiting to meet you. The shuttle landed in a docking bay that looked brand new despite being hidden inside an old asteroid. When Minseo stepped out, she found herself in a facility that rivaled Mars Colony in size. Hundreds of people worked at stations throughout the bay. All of them wore black uniforms with no insignia or rank markers. A man approached. He was in his 60s with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore the same black uniform as everyone else, but something about the way he carried himself suggested authority. Commander Park, I'm Dr. Jinho Choi. Welcome to Humanity's Insurance Policy. What is this place? Minseo demanded. Who are you people? Why didn't anyone know about these ships? Jinho gestured for them to follow. He led them through corridors filled with technology Minseo didn't recognize. 30 years ago, Earth's intelligence agencies became concerned about first contact with alien species. We knew humanity was young compared to galactic civilization. We knew we might meet species far more advanced and possibly hostile. They entered a command center where dozens of screens showed information about ships, weapons, and facilities scattered throughout the solar system. Jinho continued. So Earth's leadership authorized Protocol Retribution, a secret program to prepare for the worst-case scenario. We built hidden facilities. We developed weapons using theoretical physics. We reverse-engineered technology from crashed alien probes. All of it kept secret from the public and most of the military. You built a secret fleet, Minseo said, understanding flooding through her. How many ships? 200 warships across 12 hidden bases. Each ship is equipped with technology 50 years ahead of Earth's official military. We studied every alien species we encountered. We learned their weaknesses. We prepared for a war we hoped would never come. Heiwan spoke up. But why keep it secret from Earth's own military? Jinho's expression darkened. Because the moment other species knew we had this capability, the arms race would begin. By appearing weak, we avoided provoking conflicts. But we weren't actually weak. We were prepared. And now, after what the Valorians did, that preparation will save our species. Minseo looked at the screens showing ship after ship, 200 vessels against the Valorian Empire's 50,000. The math was simple. We're still outnumbered 250 to 1. How do 200 ships defeat an empire? They don't, Jinho admitted. Conventional military victory is impossible, but Operation Retribution was never designed for conventional warfare. Come with me. There's someone you need to meet. They walked to a briefing room where a woman stood studying holographic maps of the galaxy. She turned when they entered. Captain Su-Young Huang was younger than Minseo expected, maybe 30 years old. She had the confident stance of someone who had commanded ships in combat. Captain Huang ran our black operations against alien pirates for the last 5 years, Jinho explained. She's fought more space battles than anyone in Earth's official military, because officially, those battles never happened. Su-Young nodded to Minseo. Commander Park, I've read your file. Good tactical mind. You'll need that for what comes next. Dr. Choi, show them the plan. Jinho activated a hologram of the Valorian Empire. It showed hundreds of worlds connected by trade routes and supply lines. The Valorians rule 600 planets. That's their strength, but also their weakness. They're spread thin. They rely on their reputation for overwhelming force to keep species compliant. But they've never fought an enemy that doesn't play by conventional rules. You want guerrilla warfare, Minseo realized. Hit-and-run attacks. Disrupt their supply lines, make them paranoid. Exactly, Su-Young said. We can't match their fleet in open battle, but we can make ruling their empire impossible. We strike their supply convoys. We help slave species rebel. We turn their own size against them, death by 1,000 cuts. Donghyun frowned. But they'll retaliate. They'll attack more human colonies. They will, Jinho agreed quietly. More humans will die before this ends, but if we surrender or hide, humanity ends permanently. The Valorians proved they'll exterminate us whenever convenient. This way, we fight back. We make them regret ever attacking Earth, and we show every oppressed species in the galaxy that the mighty Valorian Empire can bleed. Mincio walked to the hologram and studied the Valorian territory. She thought about Earth burning. 7 billion dead. Her parents' ashes drifting in the wind across Sol's ruins. Grief tried to overwhelm her, but she pushed it down. There would be time to mourn later. Right now, her people needed her to be strong. "What do you need from me?" Mincio asked. Jin Ho smiled slightly. "Your official rank makes you one of the senior surviving officers in Earth's military. The colonies will follow you. We need you to coordinate between our Shadow Fleet and the remaining human forces. Help us turn scattered survivors into an organized resistance. And I need experienced combat commanders," Su Young added. "People who can think tactically under pressure. People the crew will trust. I'm promoting you to Shadow Fleet Captain. Your first mission launches in 72 hours. Minseo looked at her officers. Jiwoo nodded immediately. Dong-hyun took a moment but then agreed. Hae-won simply said, "My entire family lived in Mumbai. Whatever you need, I'm in." "Then it's settled," Jin-ho said. "Welcome to Operation Retribution. The Valorians think they won when they burned Earth. They're about to learn they started a war against an enemy that has nothing left to lose. And humans with nothing to lose are the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy." Minseo turned back to the hologram. Somewhere out there, Admiral Kale sat in his flagship, confident he had crushed humanity. He was wrong. Humanity wasn't crushed. Humanity was angry. And now, humanity had 200 warships, advanced technology, and absolutely no mercy left in their hearts. "Where do we start?" Minseo asked. Su-young's smile was cold. "With the fleet that burned Earth. Admiral Kale's ships are currently celebrating their victory at Valorian Station Omega. They think they're safe. They think humans are too primitive and broken to strike back. Let's prove them wrong." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the reality. The war had begun, and this time, humanity would show the galaxy exactly what happens when you push a species to the edge of extinction. 3 months into Operation Retribution, the Valorian Empire was beginning to understand they had made a terrible mistake. But by then, it was too late to stop what they had started. Lieutenant Hye-jin Nam crouched in the cargo hold of a Valorian supply ship, watching her team work. They had 6 minutes before the next security scan. Her team of 12 commandos moved in perfect silence, planting devices on containers destined for Valorian military bases. The devices looked like normal cargo tags. They were actually tracking beacons and explosives. Hye-jin's communication implant buzzed. "Ghost Leader, this is Shadow Eye. Enemy patrol approaching your sector. 60 seconds to contact." "Copy that," Hye-jin whispered. She signaled her team. They finished their work and slipped back into the ventilation system. 30 seconds later, Valorian security guards walked through the cargo hold, scanning for intruders. They found nothing. The humans had already disappeared like smoke. This was the new reality of the war. Humans didn't fight fair anymore. They struck from nowhere and vanished before the enemy could respond. Captain Su-young Hwang called it ghost warfare. Hit them where they're weak, avoid their strength, make them afraid of the dark. Back on Shadow Base Gamma 7, engineer Tai Yang Bei worked on his latest creation. The other engineers called him crazy. He called himself practical. The device on his workbench looked like a normal Valorian navigation computer. It would integrate perfectly into their ships, except this version had special modifications. "Tell me again how this works," his assistant asked. Tai Yang grinned. Valorian ships use quantum navigation. They calculate jump coordinates using probability matrices. This little beauty hijacks those calculations and introduces tiny errors. Not enough to notice immediately, just enough to make them miss their target by a few million kilometers. And if they miss by a few million kilometers, then they jump into a planet, or a star, or empty space where their life support eventually runs out. The beauty is they'll think it's random equipment failure. They won't realize we're causing it until we've destroyed dozens of their ships. The assistant looked nervous. That's thousands of Valorian sailors. They'll die slow deaths in some cases. Taeyang's smile vanished. They killed 7 billion humans in one day. They don't get to complain about fair treatment now. Every Valorian ship we destroy means fewer weapons pointed at human colonies. This is war. We do what we must to survive. Commander Min-Seo Park reviewed battle reports in her ready room aboard the Shadow Fleet flagship Retribution. The ship was humanity's most advanced warship, built in secret over 15 years. It carried enough firepower to level a continent. But Min-Seo rarely used that power. She preferred subtlety. Commander, we've successfully planted Taeyang's modified navigation systems in 23 Valorian ships over the last month, her intelligence officer reported. First failures are starting to occur. The Valorians are investigating but finding no common cause. Good, Min-Seo said. What about the convoy raids? Hee-Jin's team hit another supply convoy yesterday. That's 12 successful raids in 6 weeks. Valorian military bases are experiencing supply shortages. They're having to divert warships to protect cargo vessels. It's spreading their forces thin. Min-Seo studied the star map on her screen. Red markers showed Valorian military positions. Blue markers showed human strike teams and Shadow Fleet locations. Green markers showed something new: rebellions on Valorian client worlds. The subject species are watching us, Min-Seo said quietly. They see humans fighting back successfully. It's giving them ideas. Her intelligence officer nodded. 3 separate rebellions have started on Valorian colony worlds in the last month. The Grexians on Talvor 4, the Nithali on Praxis 7. Even some Valorian client species are questioning imperial authority. This was the true goal of Operation Retribution. Humans couldn't defeat the Valorian Empire through military force, but they could make ruling the Empire impossible. Every supply convoy destroyed made Valorian colonies weaker. Every ship lost to navigation failures spread paranoia through their military. Every successful human attack inspired other species to resist. The war wasn't about winning battles. It was about making the Valorians realize that conquering humanity cost more than it was worth. It was about turning their greatest strength into a fatal weakness. Admiral Kale sat in his command center aboard the Imperial flagship Dominator, reviewing casualty reports. In 3 months, he had lost 47 ships, not to open battle, to accidents, ambushes, and mysterious equipment failures. His supply lines were under constant attack from enemies he couldn't find. His reputation as the admiral who crushed humanity now felt like a curse. "Sir, another convoy was hit near Sector 17, his aide reported. "All cargo destroyed. No survivors." "Did they identify the attackers?" "No, sir. By the time response ships arrived, the enemy had vanished. It's like fighting ghosts." Kyle's fist hit the console. "Humans don't have the technology for this. They're primitives. Their homeworld is ash. How are they coordinating these attacks?" His aide hesitated before speaking. "Intelligence suggests Earth had hidden military facilities we didn't know about, that they've been preparing for this scenario for decades. The humans we're fighting now aren't the same ones we encountered 5 years ago." Kyle activated a hologram showing human attack patterns. The strikes followed no conventional military doctrine. They hit supply ships, not warships. They targeted communication relays instead of military bases. They avoided fights they couldn't win and created chaos wherever they could. "They're not trying to defeat us," Kale realized. "They're trying to make ruling the Empire impossible. Every attack makes our colony worlds doubt our protection. Every supply shortage makes our military less effective. They're using our size against us." What do we do, sir? Kale stared at the map. The honest answer was he didn't know. Traditional military tactics didn't work against an enemy that refused to fight traditionally. But he couldn't admit that. The Imperial Senate was already questioning his competence. 3 senators had called for his removal after Earth's destruction created this mess. Increase security on all supply routes, Kyle ordered. Double patrols in sectors where humans have attacked before. And send a message to all Valorian forces. Any human ship is to be destroyed on sight. No warnings, no negotiations. If they want this to be a war of extermination, we'll give them one. His aide looked uncomfortable, but transmitted the orders. Kyle knew this would make things worse. More brutal tactics would inspire more resistance. But what choice did he have? Appearing weak would encourage more rebellions. The Empire's foundation was fear. If that fear cracked, everything collapsed. Meanwhile, Min Seo received intelligence about Kyle's new orders. She called a meeting of all Shadow Fleet commanders. Holographic projections showed captains gathered from across the solar system. The Valorians are escalating, Min Seo told them. They're shooting human ships on sight now. No communications, no warnings. This will make some operations more dangerous. Captain Su Young Huang spoke up. Let them escalate. Every brutal action they take proves to the galaxy what kind of empire they really are. Other species are watching. They see Valorians committing atrocities out of desperation. It weakens imperial authority. Agreed, said another captain. But we need to increase pressure. The empire is fracturing but still dangerous. We should expand operations to hit their core worlds, not just outer colonies. Min Seo considered this. Attacking core Valorian worlds meant higher risk, but it also meant greater psychological impact. The Empire had ruled for 2 centuries, believing their homeworlds were untouchable. Proving that wrong would shake their entire civilization. Do it, Min Seo decided, but carefully. We're not terrorists. We target military and government facilities only. No civilian casualties if we can avoid them. We're not like them. We're better than them. That's what separates us. The other commanders acknowledged her orders. The meeting ended and Min Seo sat alone, staring at Earth on her screen. The planet was still covered in ash clouds from the burning. 7 billion graves that would never be filled. She thought about what the Valorians had taken from humanity. Then she thought about what they had awakened. Humans had spent centuries believing they were alone in the universe. First contact should have been wonderful. Instead, it taught humanity that the galaxy was full of predators. The Valorians thought they were the apex predator. They were learning that humans could be something far more dangerous, not predators. Survivors, and survivors with nothing left to lose would fight with a desperation that no empire could withstand. 6 months after Earth burned, the Valorian Empire was collapsing from within, not from military defeat, but from something far more dangerous, loss of control. Ambassador Min Ji-yoon stood in a hidden chamber on a neutral trading station, meeting with representatives from 6 different alien species. All of them were subjects of the Valorian Empire. All of them were tired of imperial rule, and all of them had contacted humanity asking for help. "You've seen what we did," Minji said quietly. "We're not special. We're not more advanced than you. We simply refused to accept that the Valorians were unbeatable. Everything we learned about fighting them, we'll share with you." A Grexian delegate clicked its mandibles nervously. "The humans had hidden weapons, hidden ships. We have nothing like that. If we rebel, the Empire will destroy our worlds like they destroyed Earth." "Maybe," Minji admitted. "But the Empire is weaker now than 6 months ago. They're losing ships to our attacks. Their supply lines are broken. Their military is spread across 600 worlds trying to maintain order. They can't respond to everything at once. If multiple species rebel simultaneously, they won't have the forces to stop all of you. A Nithali representative spoke up, its voice translator rendering its words in English. Why help us? What do humans gain? Justice, Minji said simply. The Valorians killed 7 billion of our people. We could never defeat them alone. But if every species they've oppressed rises up together, the empire ends, not through genocide, through liberation. That's what we want, not revenge, justice. She activated a holographic display showing tactical information humanity had gathered. Valorian military deployments, supply route schedules, weaknesses in their defense networks, information that had cost human lives to obtain. This is everything we know about how to hurt them, Minji said. We're giving it to you freely. What you do with it is your choice. But know this, humanity is fighting until the empire falls or we're extinct. We'd rather have allies than fight alone. The meeting lasted 4 hours. By the end, all 6 species had agreed to coordinate their rebellions with human operations. The galaxy was about to become very difficult for the Valorian Empire. Dr. Jin-Ho Choi worked in his laboratory deep inside Shadow Base Gamma 7, studying captured Valorian technology. He had made a discovery 3 weeks ago that changed everything. Now he needed to decide what to do with that knowledge. The faster-than-light drive they use has a fundamental flaw, Jin-Ho explained to his research team. When a ship enters jump space, it creates a temporary dimensional pocket. Normally, that pocket collapses when they arrive at their destination. But if we emit a specific quantum frequency at the right moment, we can freeze the pocket. The ship becomes trapped between dimensions. His assistant looked shocked. Trapped? For how long? Forever, Jin-Ho said quietly. The ship and everyone aboard would be frozen in jump space permanently. Not dead, not alive, just suspended in a place that doesn't fully exist in our reality. We could trap the entire Valorian war fleet if we wanted to. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. Humans now possessed the ultimate weapon against the Empire. They could end the war instantly. Trap every Valorian military ship. Leave the Empire defenseless. We need to inform Commander Park, someone said. Jin-Ho nodded. Prepare a report. Include all technical specifications. The command staff needs to know what's possible. What they do with this information is above my authority. 3 days later, Minseo sat in a secure conference room with the Shadow Fleet command staff. Jin-Ho's report displayed on screens around the room. The weapon that could end the war. The weapon that could trap millions of Valorians in eternal suspension. It works, Jin-Ho confirmed. We've tested it on captured Valorian ships. The effect is permanent and irreversible. We could deploy this technology within 2 weeks. Captain Su-Young Huang spoke first. Do it. The Valorians killed 7 billion humans without mercy. They deserve the same fate. Others nodded in agreement. But Minseo remained silent, staring at the technical specifications. She thought about Admiral Kale's face when he ordered Earth's destruction. She thought about Valorian civilians who had nothing to do with military decisions. She thought about what humanity would become if they used this weapon. How many Valorian military personnel would we trap? Minseo asked. Jin-Ho checked his data. Approximately 15 million across their entire war fleet, plus whoever is aboard ships when we activate the weapon. They wouldn't feel pain. They wouldn't even know they were trapped. From their perspective, time would simply stop. But they'd never see their families again, Minseo said. Never go home, never grow old, just frozen forever in a place between places. Is that better or worse than death? Does it matter? Su-Young challenged. They're the enemy. They started this war. We're just finishing it. Minseo stood and walked to the window overlooking the asteroid base's internal dock. Dozens of ships prepared for missions, each one crewed by humans who had lost everything when Earth burned. Humans who wanted revenge. Humans who would support using any weapon that ended Valorian power. It matters, Minseo said finally, because if we use this weapon, we become exactly what we're fighting against. The Valorians used overwhelming force to exterminate a species they saw as inconvenient. Now we have overwhelming force. Do we use it the same way? They murdered billions, someone protested. I know, Minseo said. My parents died when Seoul burned. Everyone in this room lost someone, but our dead wouldn't want their deaths to justify creating more atrocities. They'd want us to be better than the monsters who killed them. The room erupted in argument. Some agreed with Minseo. Others demanded immediate deployment of the weapon. The debate lasted 2 hours before Minseo called for silence. Here's my decision, she said. We keep the weapon secret. We don't use it, not yet, but we make sure the Valorian leadership knows we have it. We demonstrate it on one of their ships. We show them we could end their entire military with one activation, and then we offer terms. Terms? Su Young looked shocked. You want to negotiate? I want justice, Minseo corrected. Not genocide. We'll tell them we have this weapon. We'll prove it works. And we'll demand accountability. The leaders who ordered Earth's destruction stand trial. The Empire's military gets disbanded. Their colony worlds go free. They accept these terms, or we activate the weapon and end their civilization forever. The room fell silent as everyone processed this. It was the ultimate gamble. Reveal their most powerful weapon but not use it. Trust that the threat would be enough. What if they refuse? Someone asked. Minseo's expression hardened. Then we activate it. I'm not bluffing. I will trap every Valorian warship in jump space if that's what it takes to protect humanity and the other species they've oppressed. But I want to give them a chance to choose accountability over extinction, because that's what separates us from them. We believe in justice, not just revenge. Dr. Jin-Ho spoke up. There's another consideration. Other species are watching this war. If we use this weapon to commit mass murder, we become the new threat. Every species in the galaxy will fear us. But if we use it as leverage to demand justice, we become something else. We become proof that power doesn't have to corrupt, that the strong can show mercy while still protecting themselves. Minseo nodded. Exactly. The galaxy is learning about humanity right now. We're defining who we are as a species. I want us to be known as the species that could have chosen genocide but instead chose justice. Because 7 billion of our people died. The least we can do is honor their memory by being the best version of humanity possible. The vote was close, but Minseo's decision stood. They would reveal the weapon, demonstrate its power, demand terms, and wait to see if the Valorian Empire would choose accountability or annihilation. 3 weeks later, Minseo's fleet intercepted a Valorian supply convoy near neutral space. They captured one military escort ship intact. The crew was transferred to life pods and sent toward a Valorian colony. Then Minseo activated Jin-Ho's weapon while broadcasting on all Valorian military frequencies. The Valorian ship began its jump sequence. Just as it entered jump space, human ships emitted the quantum frequency Jin-Ho had discovered. The Valorian ship froze mid-jump. Sensors showed it trapped in a dimensional pocket, suspended forever between one place and another. Minseo transmitted her message to every Valorian military installation. This is Commander Minseo Park of humanity's Shadow Fleet. You just witnessed your ship trapped in jump space. This effect is permanent. We can do this to your entire war fleet. Every military vessel you have can be frozen forever with one signal. You cannot defend against it. You cannot escape it. We have the power to end your military completely. But we choose not to. Not yet. She paused, letting that sink in. Here are humanity's terms. Admiral Kale and every senator who ordered Earth's destruction will stand trial before a galactic court representing all species you've oppressed. Your military will be reduced to defense forces only. All species under imperial rule will be granted independence. You have 30 days to accept these terms. If you refuse, we activate this weapon across your entire fleet. Choose wisely. Choose accountability or choose extinction." The transmission ended. Now humanity waited to see if justice was possible, or if they would have to become destroyers to save themselves. The Valorian Empire spent 28 days in chaos after Minseo's ultimatum. The Imperial Senate fractured into factions. Some demanded immediate military action against humanity. Others recognized the impossible position they faced, a weapon they couldn't defend against. An enemy that couldn't be intimidated because they'd already lost everything. Admiral Kale sat in his quarters aboard the Dominator, watching the Senate debate on his private screen. They were arguing about whether to surrender to primitives, whether to hand over Imperial officers for trial, whether to admit that the Empire's golden age had ended because one admiral made a catastrophic mistake. His door chimed. "Enter," Kale said tiredly. His aide stepped inside, looking nervous. "Sir, 3 more colony worlds declared independence today. The Draxi system, the Helion cluster, even some Valorian colonies are questioning Imperial authority. The entire Empire is fracturing." Kale nodded slowly. He'd watched this happen over 6 months. Every human victory inspired more resistance. Every display of Imperial weakness encouraged more rebellions. The Empire was dying, and he'd killed it when he ordered Earth's destruction. "The Senate is meeting tomorrow for a final vote," his aide continued. "They're going to accept human terms. You know what that means." "It means I stand trial for genocide," Kale said quietly, "along with the senators who authorized the attack. We'll be judged by the species we conquered, by the humans whose world we destroyed. There will be no mercy." "You could run, sir. Take loyal ships and disappear into deep space." Kale considered this. He had officers who would follow him anywhere, ships under his personal command. He could become a warlord ruling some distant sector. But that wasn't honor. That was cowardice. "No," Kyle decided. "I gave the order. I killed 7 billion sentients. I have to face the consequences. Tell the Senate I'll comply with human demands. On one condition." "What condition, sir?" "That the humans promise no more Valorian civilians will be harmed. That their justice applies only to those of us who made the decision. The Empire's people didn't choose this war. We did. They shouldn't suffer for our mistakes." His aide looked surprised. "Sir, the humans could lie. Once they have you, they could activate their weapon anyway." "I know," Kale admitted. "But I've studied Commander Park. She believes in something I forgot existed. Justice, not revenge. She'll keep her word if we keep ours. It's a better chance than our people have if this war continues." The next day, the Valorian Senate voted to accept humanity's terms. The vote was close, but desperation won over pride. The Empire would rather surrender than face extinction. Commander Minseo Park received the message aboard the Shadow Fleet flagship Retribution. She read the Valorian response 3 times, barely believing it. They agreed. All terms accepted. Admiral Kale and 12 Imperial senators would surrender for trial. The military would be reduced. Colony worlds would be freed. "They actually did it," Captain Su Young Huang said, reading over her shoulder. "They chose accountability over fighting." Minseo felt exhausted suddenly. 6 months of war. Thousands of human lives spent in raids and battles, all leading to this moment. A war ending not with more death, but with the possibility of justice. "Set course for Valoria Prime," Minseo ordered. "We're going to their homeworld, not to conquer it, to witness justice." 2 weeks later, human ships arrived at Valoria Prime for the first time. Minseo's fleet of 20 vessels approached the planet cautiously, ready for treachery. But the Valorian military held its position. They had agreed to peace, and honor demanded they maintain it. Minseo broadcast across all frequencies. "This is Commander Park of the human Shadow Fleet. We come not as conquerors, but as witnesses to justice. Admiral Kale and the Imperial Senators who ordered Earth's destruction will stand trial before a court representing all species the Empire has ruled. This court will determine their punishment, not revenge, justice. On the planet's surface, a makeshift courtroom had been assembled. Representatives from 40 different species sat as judges. Humans held no majority. Every species that had suffered under Imperial rule would have a voice in judgment. Ambassador Minji Yoon served as humanity's representative. She stood before the court as Admiral Kale, and 12 senators were brought in under guard. They wore no chains. They walked freely, because this was a trial, not an execution. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Evidence was presented. Testimony was heard. Kyle himself spoke, describing the decision to destroy Earth's cities. He didn't try to justify it. He simply explained his reasoning and accepted responsibility. I believed overwhelming force would make humans compliant, Kale told the court. I was wrong. I didn't see humans as people. I saw them as a problem to be solved. 7 billion lives ended because I couldn't see past my own arrogance. I don't ask for mercy. I ask only that Valorian civilians not pay for my crimes. The judges deliberated for 2 days. When they returned, a Grexian elder read the verdict. We find Admiral Kale and the 12 senators guilty of genocide. The sentence is permanent exile to a designated world. You will live out your lives separated from Valorian society. You will work to rebuild what you destroyed. Your exile will serve as a reminder to future leaders that power without accountability leads to ruin. It wasn't death. It wasn't imprisonment. It was isolation and shame. Kyle would spend the rest of his life knowing his legacy was the destruction of an empire through stupidity and cruelty. The verdict for the Valorian Empire itself was equally significant. The military would be reduced to 1/10 of its current size. All subject species would be granted independence. The Empire would pay reparations to humanity and other species harmed by Imperial aggression. Valoria itself would be monitored by an independent council to ensure compliance. The Valorian Empire that had ruled for 2 centuries effectively ended that day, not through conquest, but through accountability. 6 months after the trial, Minseo stood on Earth's surface for the first time since the burning. The planet was healing slowly. Terraforming technology from multiple species was helping restore the atmosphere. The ash clouds were clearing. Where Sol once stood, a memorial was being built. 7 billion names would be inscribed in stone, a reminder of what was lost. Dr. Jin-Ho Choi stood beside her, watching construction drones work. The other species have been incredible. The Grexians donated terraforming equipment. The Nithali sent agricultural specialists. Even some Valorians volunteered to help rebuild. People who want to prove not all of their species supported what happened. Good, Minseo said quietly. That's what we wanted. Not revenge, not more death. Just acknowledgement of what was done, and effort to prevent it happening again. Ambassador Minji Yoon approached them, holding a data pad. The new Galactic Council is meeting next week. They want Earth to have a permanent seat. They're calling us the species that proved power doesn't have to corrupt. The species that could have chosen genocide, but instead chose justice. Minseo smiled slightly. That sounds better than being known as the species that got most of its population killed. Earth's story will be told for generations, Jin-Ho said. How we almost went extinct but refused to become extinct. How we fought back against impossible odds. How we won not through superior weapons, but through refusing to become the monsters we fought. A group of children walked past, playing near the memorial construction site. Human children alongside Grexian and Nithali youngsters. Species that had been enemies now raising children together in peace. That was the real victory, Minseo realized. Not military triumph, but the chance to build something better. Later that evening, Minseo visited her parents' grave marker. Their bodies had been vaporized in the soul bombardment. This was just stone and words, but it mattered to her. "We did it," she told the marker. "We made them pay without becoming like them. The empire fell, the galaxy is free, and Earth is being rebuilt. I hope wherever you are, you're proud of what we accomplished. Not the fighting, the mercy, the justice. That's the part I hope you'd be proud of." She stood there for a long time, watching the sunset over Earth's recovering landscape. The sky was still gray from ash, but blue was beginning to show through, life returning to a world that had been burned. Commander Minseo Park had led humanity through its darkest moment. She'd organized resistance when everything seemed hopeless. She'd shown mercy when revenge would have been easier. And she'd helped prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in weapons or technology. It was in the ability to suffer unimaginable loss and still choose to be better than those who caused the suffering. The galaxy had learned about humanity during those terrible months. They'd learned humans were dangerous when threatened, clever when desperate, but most importantly, they'd learned humans were capable of extraordinary mercy even after experiencing extraordinary cruelty. That was the legacy of Operation Retribution. Not a military victory, but a moral one. Proof that the strong could show restraint. That justice was possible even after genocide. That a species pushed to the edge of extinction could pull back and build something better instead of just destroying everything in grief-fueled rage. 7 billion humans had died when the Valorian Empire attacked Earth, but the species that survived wasn't broken. It was changed, transformed into something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that fought like demons when necessary, but showed mercy when possible. A species that understood power without accountability was tyranny, but power with restraint was leadership. Minseo walked away from the memorial as night fell. Tomorrow she would attend the Galactic Council meeting. Tomorrow she would help build the peaceful future her parents didn't live to see. Tomorrow she would continue proving that humanity deserved its place among the stars. But tonight she mourned what was lost and celebrated what was saved. The future was uncertain, but it existed. And that, ultimately, was what Operation Retribution had accomplished. It saved humanity's future by refusing to sacrifice humanity's soul.